In this video, I'm teaming up with Aniket Patel in a challenge to see who can create a compelling artwork using just these 9 images. It's going to be a fun challenge, and I'll check in with Aniket in a bit to see how he's getting along. But I urge you to go watch that video on his channel now to see how he tackles it from start to finish. Now, getting back to these images, I need to figure out how I'm going to use them. I can use these 2 images as the foundation for the background, and this image already has some nice depth of field in the foreground that I can take advantage of. Let's make the dragon the centerpiece and sprinkle some crystals around for good measure. I think this could turn out nicely, so let's get started. The first image will give us the base texture for the cave walls, but it's the next photo that's really going to shed some light on this piece. I want it to look like there's a hole in the ground that's leading into a hidden fantasy cavern. And like I said earlier, this image of a river has a lot of potential, and it seems like an obvious choice for the foreground of this artwork. Now I'm going to start adding the other elements in and try to get them in roughly the correct spot. The photo with the hole in the ceiling also has a man who is looking up at that opening. I think I want to use this so that the man is instead looking up at the dragon. With everything in pretty much the right spot, I can start blending all of these pieces together. I'm going to start with some basic level adjustments. I'll play with the levels a few times throughout this process, but for now I'm just trying to get the levels in the right ballpark. I want to try and get some atmosphere and depth happening, so I'm going to use a fog brush to paint in some atmospheric fog. I think we're missing something in that space between the dragon's head and its body. So I'm going to grab the tail bit from one of these dragon images and use it in that space. And I'll use the puppet tool to get it into the right position. I need to make the dragon's neck a bit longer to connect to where I've positioned its body. So I'm going to duplicate part of the neck and use a bit of the liquify tool to blend it all in. Let's take a peek over at Aniket and see how he's doing. Oh wow, it looks like he's doing something similar, but also very different. He seems to be making the crystals part of the dragon, like they're either growing on the dragon or growing out from it. He also uses the river image a bit differently than I used it, allowing us to see what's going on under the water, which is really cool and I love that approach. That's part of what makes these challenges so fun, is seeing how different people approach the same puzzle. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Now, where were we? Oh yeah, while Aniket was attaching crystals to his dragon, I was busy desaturating all the layers and touching up the levels again. The reason for this is because it's easier to see how different the levels are between each image if everything is in black and white. It allows me to better visually match the darkest and brightest parts of the image. Also, I kind of think I want to go for a more desaturated color palette for this piece, so this will help me fill that out. Now I'm going to slowly start to reintroduce color. I have a vision of these crystals giving off the cyan glow that make everything feel cold and mysterious, so that's what I'm working towards. I start to bring a little saturation back to each layer, giving them back a small amount of their original color. And then it's time for everybody's favorite part, shadows and highlights. The shadows and highlights really start to make the artwork come alive and feel like a cohesive piece. The primary light source in this scene comes from the hole at the top of the cavern, but the crystals are also reflecting blue ambient light throughout the scene as well. To help give the foreground a little more visual interest, I'm going to add one of those crystals down here in the corner. I'll just need to remember to apply a little bit of blur so that it matches the depth of field that we already have with the water. After that, I'm going to use a brush to add in a bunch of little floating particles around the scene. Also, I added some color to the fog. We're getting close to the end now, but it feels to me like the light coming from that hole just isn't bright enough. So I'm going to fix that, and then I'm going to go through one last time adding the finishing touches, such as more secondary lighting and rim lights. Now let's check back in with Unikate one last time before we wrap up. It looks like he's almost finished as well. I'm not going to spoil it for you though, you'll have to check his video out for the final result. And while you're at it, be sure to give him a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now back over here, I'm still adding the finishing touches. But let me know if there's any art challenge that you'd like to see me tackle next, and I'll be sure to give it a go at some point in the very near future. But for now, let's get to the final reveal. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching the creative process, and once again I want to thank Unikate Patel for participating in this challenge with me. Click the link on the screen now to watch more art videos like this one, and I'll see you next time.